again and welcome to the County Seat. I'm your host, Chad Booth. Today we are talking about pie in the sky. We're talking about the blue and wonderful opportunities of picking up your life and moving it to rural Utah, where there's a lot of space and there's a lot of fun stuff outside in your backyard. So that's where our conversation is going to go today. If you don't believe it can happen, well, we're going to start with a story that shows you that it can and it has.
I'm Nate, and I work remotely for a company down in St. George while living here in the Uinta Basin in Roosevelt, Utah specifically. I don't have to be out in the city to have a kind of a higher bracket or higher tier job that you wouldn't really find in a kind of a remote area, typically only exists in a densely populated area. So we built the house in 2012, and it came equipped with fiber, which has helped tremendously. It's been nice to have the awesome bandwidth that fiber provides. Fiber optics are incredibly important to rural areas. You're limited in regards to being remote by bandwidth. It's key, and if something as small as someone hopping on Netflix can interrupt your day-to-day and prevent you from working, then that's a really big deal. Being remote allows a lot of opportunity in regards to parenting. It makes it a lot easier in regards to not having to take them to daycare or find a sitter under certain circumstances and things of that nature. My wife actually works during the day as well, and our son won't nap anywhere other than his own bed. She actually leaves him here while he's napping. Once he's up, that's kind of when I take my lunch break. I go up and get him ready and all that, text her, and she comes and picks him up. That for me is a huge perk, just being able to just seamlessly kind of integrate with the day-to-day of business with my personal life and my family life is awesome. Yeah, it is cold, huh, buddy? It's nice to be able to just come out and take a breather, get some fresh air when I get stuck on some code, and rather than just sitting down in the office, come out and hang out with the fam and get some fresh air for a little bit. Even if I have a really long day or a week of long days, I can still kind of just take a break and come up and visit the fam for 5-10 minutes. It's okay. If I was in an office, that wouldn't really be feasible. It would be a phone call as opposed to just coming up and giving a couple hugs and going back down. So that's awesome. I don't think that I would ever go back to working in an office. As awesome as it is, and as much as I like to go in and socialize with people and see people, being able to work remotely is fantastic. It has changed my life for the better, and it has allowed me to see how things can be.
Got your interest? We will come back with a conversation and blueprint how one county has started to make a big dent in that shift. We'll see you in a minute on the County Seat. We're folks bound by traditions. Whether it's holiday time or vacation time, make sure that one of your traditions is a stop at the Creamery in Beaver, Utah. Delicious cheese direct from the factory, ice cream, tasty treats, crafts, and gifts of all kinds. And it's the perfect place to get a bowl of creamy mac and cheese. Start your new tradition the next time you're headed our way. The Creamery in Beaver, Utah. Farm, meet table.
The Utah Farm Bureau began as a collection of farmers supporting each other to raise the food we enjoy. Today, Farm Bureau membership encompasses everyone, whether ranchers, growers, or just everyday folks like you and me. Members enjoy discounts on items like vehicles and ATVs, or insurance that's very affordable. You don't have to be a farmer to join, and dues are small, but together we make a big difference in keeping our food supply local and abundant. Join Utah Farm Bureau.
Crisp, colorful, a world in transition. You don't have to travel the back roads of Maine to explore autumn in all of its glory. Beaver County offers fall in unique splendor, with drives along forgotten canyons and hikes through meadows exploding with vibrant hues of red and yellow. Hit the road with your family and discover a side of Beaver County you never knew you were missing. Autumn is fleeting, so don't hesitate. Beaver County, it's time to experience the real Utah. This is what adventure looks like, and here's what it sounds like. Southwest Utah's Iron County offers some of the most iconic trails within the state that include 200 miles of new trails to be discovered. Check out ironcounty.net for info and interactive maps for your complete guide to off-roading. Explore countless miles of trails in the heart of Dixie National Forest, the gateway to Utah National Parks, Iron County.
Welcome back to the county seat. We are having a discussion today about the benefits of economic development in rural Utah. Now, we've already covered why it's so appealing for people to live out in rural Utah with whatever kind of job they have. Now we're going to talk about, is this a realistic goal? Joining us for conversation are three very experienced people in answering those questions. We have Zach Whitewell, who is from Workforce Services, and you cover that part of the state of Utah out in the Uinta Basin, right?
That's correct.
We have Irene Hansen, who is the Economic Development Director for Duchesne County, and we have Aaron Waite, who is the President and CEO of the Uinta Basin Technical College. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, so we now have seen a story about a guy who just loves his high-tech job, and he's like the radio guys say, working in his pajamas at his computer at home. Is this a realizable dream for somebody who's tired of looking at a factory outside their back window?
I think so. Reason I think that, I think when rural Utah focuses on what rural Utah does well, it attracts business. And it attracts people to the areas of the state that are have offerings that other areas don't.
So, Irene, from your standpoint, economic development, how important is diversification? I mean, Duchesne County has been kind of known for having a slightly monolithic economic profile, but you are diversifying now.
We absolutely are, and I'll tell you what's made the difference is technology. You know, isn't it funny? That's what always makes the difference in whether you're trying to do things better, whether you're trying to retool, but technology has made a huge difference. And what we're finding, when you really think about, Heber is 1 hour from Duchesne. I mean, that's not very far. And so we are very, very close-knit to the Wasatch Front. We're very close proximity. Now, certainly not enough for a daily commute. That's too far. But with the technology that we have in the Uinta Basin right now, with Strata as our technology and telecommunication provider, is it realistic for someone who is a high-tech worker to come and live in Duchesne County and other places in rural Utah, have maybe a lower cost of living, maybe find a nicer home, have deer outside their back door, and be able to make a good living working anywhere in the world via technology? Still, that 1 hour commute from Duchesne to Heber, you can be at the airport pretty darn fast for whatever other things that might take you out of the state, out of the country.
What does the job prognosis look like doing something like this? I mean, the state's made some kind of a commitment.
It's pretty attractive. We at the Department of Workforce Services this past year, we had a huge project where we were trying to put more of the telecommuting jobs on our website and availability for individuals in rural Utah to be able to live there, enjoy the environment, the home atmosphere, the quality of life, and still find those quality jobs. And as of yesterday, we had a little over 9,900 jobs on our website. And these are national telecommuting jobs, not necessarily geared to companies here in Utah, but these are any kind of job you can do at your home with the services available.
9,900. What's the kind of pay range on something like that?
You go from your high range from the double digits to six-figure salaries throughout the year.
Wow, that is pretty impressive. Is the state living up to their bargain of saying that they are trying to make some of their jobs go out?
They absolutely are. In fact, that's why I wanted Zach sitting right here next to me. The Department of Workforce Services, thank you, Utah. They are a tremendous partner, and they have really put their whole heart into this. And in fact, recently there's going to be an expansion within the Department of Workforce Services, and 15 of those jobs are coming to the Uinta Basin. And we just appreciate how practical they're making it and how real they're making it. In fact, I think those jobs, aren't interviews starting next week?
They are. We just wrapped up the application process, and we're fortunate with them, as been on the news lately, with the Medicaid expansion project. We were able to look, and we had existing infrastructure available. We had commitment available to put some jobs in rural Utah, and we were able to bring 15 of those opportunities, and we interview next week.
You bring up actually a good point, because I was going to think about, well, you know, bring jobs to rural Utah, you got to have a place to put them, because not everybody can work at home in their pajamas, right? So there is available office space that the state's willing to take over and commit?
Absolutely.
Correct. We actually had available space already in a facility we're currently using, and so we were able to maximize its usage. We're saying we can put the positions here in the basin, and we can definitely make that commitment.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to take a look at some of the kinds of diversification and where the opportunities lie, industry by industry. This is very interesting. We'll be back on the county seat in just a minute.
In a place that is beyond words, there is nothing to be said, except take your time in Bryce Canyon country.
Welcome back to the county seat. We are having a conversation today about economic opportunity in this technical age in rural Utah to transfer some of that burden of growth out of the Wasatch Front and put it across the state. So we're going to continue our conversation. And I think I'm going to start with you, President. What is the diversification opportunity? Where are the jobs that are being developed? Not everybody can be sitting at a computer monitor in a cubicle, but how does that play into a broader portfolio of jobs?
Well, I'm just delighted to speak about that. I think what is unique in rural Utah is all of rural Utah has an opportunity for technical education. And technical education, put it at a statewide perspective, really handles 70 to 80% of the workforce needs, not only in the state of Utah, but that is actually a national statistic number. So it's very important that education and industry work together to make sure those workforce needs are met. That's something that is taking place throughout the state of Utah, but particularly in rural Utah at a very high rate of speed, and it is a very high level.
So if I wanted to bring, say, 200 quasi-specialized technical skill jobs out to the Uinta Basin, Could I work with your school to develop the curriculum, to develop the labor force that had the skills that I needed to be able to staff my expansion?
Absolutely, and that happens all the time. When industry says, hey, we have this particular need. For instance, our healthcare organizations in the Uinta Basin are fantastic. We have 2 regional medical centers that are large, robust. One's a trauma 3-level center. Those all partner with us for their workforce needs. As we talk about telecommunication, rural Utah, and specifically the Uinta Basin, has some of the fastest fiber network speeds in the state of Utah. Irene mentioned earlier in our conversation about Strata Networks. They have been very progressive in providing opportunity for rural employment. They've been progressive in providing opportunity to bring urban development to rural Utah.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I just looked at an article yesterday that actually placed your county as second in the state in fiber optic penetration, right behind Daggett County, which is good. Your buddies to the northeast deserve to be #1.
They sure do.
But let's talk about what kind of industries that actually is having an impact on. I got 3 of you here that know this business, government, education interface. So who's got opportunity in your neck of the woods?
You know, I always, of course, who doesn't like to talk about their grandkids? And I had 2 of my beautiful grandkids recently move back to Duchesne County because of this technology. My son, who does cybersecurity, works for a Utah firm, travels the world and interacts with the world on a daily basis, and has fiber to his home now. And because of that, was able to move back to Duchesne County from a much larger city, and now out his back door, the kids are 4-wheeling, and so you know we've seen that, and of course that job completely diversifies our normal economy, and so while one job may not make a huge difference, if you start to multiply that one at a time. Now, would it be difficult? You mentioned someone coming out and wanting 200 employees. Would that be possible immediately? Depending on the level of education, maybe not. However, one by one, people coming and can work for other firms throughout the state, throughout the nation. You know, slowly but surely, you start to develop that workforce internally, and we have other firms that are hiring people to work at home. They're just doing customer service, and
well, you can even kind of expand upon that, having that fiber optics, having that capability and stuff, and a lot of the telecommunications jobs out there, you have your traditional call center environment, you have your traditional, they can expand out to at-home customer service, but medical billing, other positions such as the IT support, lots of different types of positions are starting to go more and more with that availability. And so there's really touches several different industries, not just your traditional what has been customer support in the past.
So I guess the question is that does that technology bring with it areas that aren't related? Because I know right now that there's some guy who's got a ranching background, lives in a rural county in Utah, and he says, "Oh, I don't know how we can fill computer jobs and make this county viable." And they can't. Not everybody can fill everything with computer jobs because they're of a mindset. Somebody's got to build something. Somebody's got to grow something. And so does that technology translate into those industries as well?
It absolutely does, because those people bring dollars to expend in the local economy. So when they're expending their salaries locally, that's increasing that availability for a mechanic, the need for a mechanic, the need for a grocer, the need for, you know, every part of the business sector and the community sector, and it really has a very positive impact. Very, very positive impact.
And to kind of build on that, transportation has been huge with this, is where you start to have more of companies being based more in the rural Utah, over-the-road drivers, local drivers, regional drivers, whatever you want to say it. So that kind of ties back into, because of this growth with expanding into rural Utah, because of the support for fiber optics in rural Utah, you have more opportunities to go to some of those traditional jobs.
Isn't there yet another area that is approachable in this, in that you could have like an engineering team in Salt Lake where they can't do manufacturing because you got a smokestack issue from Nephi or just north of Nephi up to Brigham City because of air quality, but they could come out into a rural community and they could build a paper plant, or they could build something, and that design information could still be coming from those key centers, but the actual manufacturing through telecommunication, is that, am I on the right track with that as a possibility?
Absolutely, but it could also go the opposite way, Chad, which is, you know, and I have to give a shout out to some of our great engineering firms. They saw some of this vision 10, 15 years ago. We have a lot of engineering firms that have moved to rural Utah because they were doing a lot of their work were on bridges, on sewer systems, you know, in a lot of the areas of rural Utah, and they moved offices out to those areas. And so it's kind of been doing the opposite. They are doing a lot of the design and sending it on to other corporate offices. And so, you know, we have to give them a lot of credit for seeing that vision, some of them as early as 10, 15 years ago.
So I guess with technology being the case, it used to be that you had to be near the copy center, you had to be near the patent office, right. You had to be near all these things, and so engineering firms
all done on the web.
were all downtown, and they were all in a metro, and now they can actually move out. Any other things to add to that as far as industries go?
Well, I think we just have to keep our minds open for the opportunities in rural Utah. Mm-hmm. Opportunities are large, and I can tell you from an education standpoint, when business and industry partners with education, everybody wins. Okay. Everybody wins.
Let's take a break. When we come back, let's turn our attention to what a county has to do. Not all of them have advanced to the point where Duchesne County is. I want your advice for some of the other counties in Utah, the rural counties, on how they get from where you are from where they are. And we'll be right back in a second.
What would you do with an extra day in Utah Valley? Explore the Wasatch Mountains? Snap a family photo at Bridal Veil Falls. Cool off on Utah Lake or the Provo River. No matter what you're searching for, you can find it in Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
All local products have a story of magical places, real people, and delicious recipes spanning generations. So go ahead and discover flavors you've never tasted and friends you never knew you had. Utah's own Discover Local Food.
There's a little place on a Utah map where I was raised, where my heart's at, where the sagebrush grows wild and high, and the stars come out at night. Oh, there ain't nothing like being raised in the basin with a Ute reservation, skiing starvation, that Duchesne County life.
149 million years in the making, dinosaurs once roamed this land. Now they're found at the Dinosaur National Monument. Let's take you beyond the bones. We call it Dinosaur Land. You'll find it offers adventures and sights not seen anywhere else in the world. Come to Dinosaur Land, Vernal, Utah. You'll want to stay forever. The dinosaurs did.
Welcome back to the county seat. We are having a conversation today about economic opportunity in rural Utah. It's not like it's the first time we've talked about this, but there certainly are some new angles. I do want to talk to all of you because you are all involved with the Uinta Basin, and Duchesne County has really been on the cutting edge of getting a lot of this stuff up and running, and you've had a vision to be at the forefront of technology. What do other counties need to do? What is the game plan for them to start seeing this realization that rural economies can be diverse and robust?
I'm going to jump in there.
You do that.
I think the thing the Uinta Basin does so wonderful is they've learned to work together. Yeah. That's the key. You have to learn to work together. You know, learn that competition is great, but collaboration is better. And you need to learn to collaborate with one another to get things done. And I think that's what really has helped rural Utah, especially in the Uinta Basin, and I think that's a great starting point for others.
When you say collaborate, are you talking like education to business, or are you talking about similar businesses getting together and trying to overcome a hurdle to make life better? What?
Everything.
Counties, cities, you name it.
Yeah.
When you guys started, was there a lot of friction?
Absolutely. Because you know what? It's slim pickings. You know, I'm older than my colleagues here, and I never thought I'd say that because I used to be the young one, and now I'm not. But I'll tell you, I remember, I remember 25 years ago, and it was slim pickings. Just to give you an idea of 1992, what it looked like in Duchesne County, we'd lost 70% of our centrally assessed value. Our unemployment rate was over 15. We'd lost 2,000 people from our county due to a downturn. And I remember that's when I came into this position. And I can just remember sitting back and saying, how in the world how can we ever have anything? How can we ever make it work? How can we make it to where our children can stay? And I remember a wise colleague coming to me, and when I said, I don't know how to make a difference, and he said, make a difference for the people who live here today. And eventually, all of those things will come together. So we focused on healthcare, we focused on education, but, and I guess you only have one way to go, and that's up. And then remember too, Chad, is that one job in rural Utah equates to as much as 80 jobs on the Wasatch Front, so little things can make a big difference. DWS doing what they're doing and putting this Medicaid expansion, these positions in rural Utah, that is a game changer for a rural community.
So, well, go ahead. You had a comment.
I was going to kind of follow President Way. The infrastructure is critical. Duchesne County has been very wise in looking at some of the infrastructure with the education, with fiber optics, et cetera, and that helps a rural county, and that sometimes can be forgotten by other counties as well. So that's a pretty important component.
Well, and I think all counties in the Uinta Basin work well together. You have Carbon County, Emery County, Duchesne County, Uinta County, Daggett County. Those counties have figured out, hey, we are better together than we are individually, and that's been a powerful thing.
Okay, so there may be people across the state right now that are going, oh, yeah, that all sounds great, but I don't know where to start. What is the first thing they got to do to start down the path?
Call your partners together and have a conversation.
Create the vision.
What's that?
Create the vision. Create the vision where you want to be. Focus on what you're good at. You know, people want to come to that ice cream shop that's excellent. People want to come experience that individual thing you have in a different part of the state.
Do you think there's an additional value in looking beyond geographical boundaries like a county line or a city line and trying to group things by natural order?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been a great conversation. Thank you for tuning in as you do always every week on the county seat. We appreciate your support. Please share this conversation with your friends on social media. And remember, your life happens at the level of local government. So be part of the solution, be involved, and we will see you next week on the county seat.